Content warning. The following will contain imagery and discussion on drug use, overdose, death, mental illness, and other potentially triggering subject matter. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions discussed on this panel do not necessarily reflect those of Recovery Unplugged.
Everybody, welcome. Welcome to our second Recovery Unplugged Roundtable and our 8th Recovery Unplugged episode. With us, we have Jason Cabello. Jason is one of the, I guess, most renowned, videographers that I've ever met in my entire life. He is also in recovery. Jason comes to us, works with Recovery Unplugged, has been with us for a while. Not only that, but he has a wealth of knowledge as it regards to recovery. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
And Tori Trevino is a state-certified peer recovery support specialist who is also the CEO and founder of Misery Loves Company and Comeback Recovery. Tony has helped hundreds of clients improve their physical as well as their mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being through recovery and coaching services. Tony is also an NASM certified personal trainer with over 20 years of experience in strength training and conditioning. Today, Tony teaches and trains Muay Thai at the best new and upcoming Black Sheep Boxing and Muay Thai in North Austin, a gym that is owned and operated by people in long-term recovery who share the same passion for helping others in the community and providing fun, safe, cathartic environment for everyone to learn and grow. Tony, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. First-time listener, long-time caller.
Well, we've been working with Tony actually for quite a while. Last year during our I Blank Sober initiative, Tony was a big contributor. We got a lot of responses, and we've done actually some direct write-ups and articles on you, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah. Austin Fit magazine, I think, was one of them.
Yeah. Well, Tony, I'm really glad that you can make it, and thank you for coming, and thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, man.
All right, no problem. Well, hey, listen, we're just gonna kind of dive right into it, and we usually almost all the time have the ability to have a kind of green room discussion, but not today. So everything that you guys are going to hear is going to be like the first time everybody's hearing these responses, these directions, and everything like that. So I'm going to be just as surprised as you are as to everyone's position. But today we're going to talk about substance abuse in sports, and the reason why is two reasons. There's one, we're going to Recovery Unplugged is hosting and is the official recovery partner of the Miami Dolphins. Yay. Really excited about that. And not only that, but we are taking literally a busload of people to the Miami Dolphins game this Sunday. And we are going to bring some people down on the field. We're going to celebrate recovery. But the interconnection between recovery and addiction, unfortunately, isn't they're not unknown. There's a direct correlation, and it starts young. We have high school students, we have college students as well as adults who have found a way into addiction via a sports injury, or maybe it's locker room, kind of antics. Being, the first time that I was ever offered steroids, I was offered steroids in high school in a locker room by an assistant coach. So, there are different people out here in different ways that addiction has affected them. So, Tony, I just like to kick it off for you and kind of give you punch you the question. What do you feel drives substance use in sports?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's all performance based, whether it's performance enhancing or in order to fight through an injury, taking painkillers, I actually had a client who played went pretty high up in the collegiate level, played at a big university, and he was put on Vyvanse, which is like a stimulant, ADD. It's like the new Adderall is what I would call it. But I'd never thought of that being a performance enhancing drug, but apparently they were kind of fed that to I guess be more aggressive and just be able to go longer, harder.
That's unfortunately. I wish that was a story that was just that one story, right? It's one of those things where you wish that it was unique, and that you wish that it was a oh man, that's the first time that I've heard it. Why do you feel that it happens so often?
Well, injuries are a part of sports, obviously. Being a Muay Thai fighter, and I'm really into MMA in general, those guys are constantly injured. Like when you see guys fight in UFC or Bellator or wherever, 99% of those guys are probably not even at 90% health-wise, just because it's such a brutal sport, even though I truly believe that it's not a violent sport, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Combat sports for me is, I played 14 years of football and baseball growing up, but when I got into MMA, after watching the first UFC back in 1993, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. And I just feel like those guys are the ultimate athletes. But the thing that I love about combat sports in general is just it's the martial arts aspect. What recovery is to me, mind, body, spirit, is it parallels with martial arts. I know at Black Sheep, one of the selling points we have, and one of the reasons why it works so well is because when you're training, you have to be in the present. You're forced to be in the present. You can't be thinking about what happened last week or future tripping about what's going to happen next month, because if you're not paying attention, chances are you're going to get punched or kicked in the face, and nobody wants that.
What is it that Mike Tyson said? Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah, so true. He also said recently that social media has gotten people too comfortable with insulting each other without getting punched in the face.
I saw that.
I think that probably is true. Not fearing the consequences of our actions. Sports is one of those places where like there's an action and then there's a consequence, and for every we have the people that want in life to experience life as life happens, right? And we want to be human, and I think that's human nature is to experience life as it should be. And addiction really kind of peels that away. Addiction steals a lot of things, but one of the things that addiction steals away is the ability to enjoy sports, to enjoy watching sports, enjoy doing sports. I know people who have played football while under the influence of narcotics, and even though they played a good game, I know some people that didn't even remember the game because they were so high, so doped up so that they could actually play. Jason, from your perspective, you're an avid skateboarder. And skateboarding is one of those things that you get hurt a lot, you fall a lot, you can be paying all the attention to the world, but in the world to what you're doing. But how many? Let's start with this. How many broken bones have you had skateboarding?
I've been pretty lucky. I broke my ankle, but other than that, just a lot of sprains. And I have a picture of when I was 15. I was in Huntington Beach, California. I'd go visit my dad out there, and you could still see my bad finger over here. It was the first time I broke it. You see a picture of me, and it's like hanging this way. And I was still skating like it was. This is long before I had gotten into drugs or anything like that. But yeah, and with skateboarding's culture up until recently, with it becoming a little bit more legitimate and then becoming an Olympic sport, it used to be kind of like the bad boys were skateboarding, and it was like a little bit punk rock and a little bit rough around the edges. So even at like the the most highly sanctioned contests for skateboarding, like it was celebrated to be, to be kind of wasted. And there was like a skate crew, a old friend of mine from California, Andrew Reynolds, who's one of the biggest names in skateboarding. He had a crew called the Piss Drunks, and he's now in recovery too. But they would put out videos, and it really glamorized, getting as messed up as you can. And and that's the other thing, is that with substances being kind of welcomed, at one point it took the inhibitions away. And I remember times, we would go out to the skate park of Tampa, and kind of just after it was closed, we'd have like a keg of beer and be doing whatever else. And it was like, I think that's when I did some of my best skating. And I could, I remember like skating really well and then stopping and then not even being able to walk straight.
Yeah. Wow. But at least you could skate, right? And that's
There's that.
and that's the offset. So we call it the choice, right? And the choice is you can sit out with this injury. We can give you something for the injury, and you can go back and play. And you can come back and play after we work on you, or we can continue to give you this every time that you play, so you can play at your pinnacle. And Tony, have you had any experience with individuals who were given that ultimatum of, what do I do? Do I take this Demerol shot right now and risk addiction? Or even, do you even think that they think that addiction is a possibility when they're given that choice?
I think that's the furthest thing from their mind. Through my time around high-level athletes, there's one common thread that I've noticed, in that the ones that are real successful, they get there because they have this win at all cost mentality. And, and it does start early. I tell this story about my dad when I was in Pop Warner football. I think it was the first year that I was old enough to play tackle football. I broke my finger in the middle of the game. I ran to the sideline thinking, okay, I'm done. I'm going to have to go to the hospital or whatever. And my dad, being the hard ass that he is, taped it to the next finger, is like, get back in there, So I think that is taught early on, and it just, it manifests itself all throughout, an athlete's life. You asked if I knew anyone that had experience with what you're talking about, and absolutely. I had a client who he dislocated his elbow in the middle of a D1 football game, and they doped him up enough to be able to finish playing with a dislocated elbow. I think a lot of that is fear-based too, because in the NFL or in professional sports, if you're sitting on the sidelines, you're probably not making the money that you're supposed to be making, and then
Right.
the collegiate level, if you're sitting on the sidelines, you're risking somebody taking your spot, and that could keep you from going higher in the sport that you're playing. So it's the same way all the way down. I remember in high school, it's like, you do not ever want to get taken out of the game because you might not put back in.
Right. So right now there is a big battle right now between hired NFLers and the NFL. And a judge in San Francisco recently declined to certify a lawsuit, a nationwide class action lawsuit, because he said it would be a train wreck, right? And the reason why he said it would be a train wreck is because it's about two things. Is one, it's about football, the NFL failing to regulate the use of painkillers and treating NFLers in the locker room and overall. And two, there are thousands of NFL players that are getting behind this. So, we think about these individuals that are at the pinnacle of their game, the pinnacle of fitness, the pinnacle of sports, right? And as of right now, I mean, we picked Thursdays for this show, but we're definitely we're definitely square right in the middle of Thursday night football territory. But right now Patrick Mahomes is out there. He's like, was he a third year quarterback? Or whatever.
Right.
And we're seeing these guys play at the pinnacle of this, but so many of these individuals are affected by this over prescription of opioids. And I think for a lot of them, it didn't start there. It probably started in college. For some of them, started in high school. But for a judge to deny the impact of the prescription or the overprescription really says a lot. It says that it would be a shipwreck because there's so many people that were affected, and B, how afraid are they of the NFL, who has so much clout and pull in the U.S. And there are also universities that probably would fall into the same I guess umbrella of of the things that they do for their players. Obviously, we're not going to name names and point fingers, but it's important to note that when making the decision or trying to make the decision to be a part of an organization, we sometimes will look the other way when there are some obvious things staring back at us that we should pay attention to. Jason, tell me about, have there been any situations where you look the other way on a good decision because of the influence of the person or the influence of the organization that was making a bad decision?
So again, I was talking about my friend Andrew, who he had this whole team of skaters who were celebrated to be the most screwed up ones of all time, and then he got clean, and then he made it because he's considered a very cool guy, you know what I mean? And this was probably 18 or 19 years ago when he got clean. And that wasn't really heard of in the skateboarding industry, of somebody coming out the other side who wasn't like a square, so he really changed the narrative of that. And then it was really cool to watch because the whole team, you still had the ones who were partaking in that, but then you had the ones who would slowly get a little bit more responsible and take his lead. And then it became like known that they had when the team would go on tour, they would have the sober van and then the party van. And then it's really cool to watch because he really mentors a lot of people from a young age, because he was a prodigy who was discovered by Tony Hawk, and then he was put on Tony Hawk's team, and then now he just turned Tony Hawk's son pro. And then so he treads a lot of water in the skateboard community. So I would say he's done an equal amount. Like he did the damage back in the day, but now he's his team is actually known for having a lot of people in recovery.
That's good. Two things is one, Tony, there's a gentleman named Tyler Critchie who wants to make sure that he's watching you to see if you get a little nervous. But I don't think that that's the case at all. So sorry, Tyler. He's not gonna.
Tyler knows I have nerves of steel.
And the second thing is that Nikki Cole made the comment, Recovery Unplugged, what I hear the most from clients is that they have identity issues after high school or college that leads to low self-confidence and efficacy. Then they drink to numb and cope. The other side of this is that they party a lot in school and after games. Once the school ended, the partying increased and got out of hand. There are tons of other factors involved, though. That's great. That's a great insight, Nikki. Thank you so much for that. So address things that Nikki just said. One is the social lubrication part of it. I drink to be a part. I drink because my team drinks. I drink because my friends drink. I drink because they are, I don't know me, right? I'm a part of my team. I'm a part of the baseball team. I'm a part of the track team. And my individuality is less important than the team. And that is pumped into you as a young athlete, is that there's no I in team. You've got to give everything for the team. Everybody's relying on you. Go out there and show us what you got, right? And if you've ever walked out into an arena, or I'm sure you have, Tony, or walk out on a field. I remember walking out on the field of Neyland Stadium, and there were literally 100,000 people cheering so loud you can feel the claps and the cheers like rumble through your chest, and everybody's counting on you. And at that point, nothing else really matters besides giving your best and doing your best and going out there and giving it your all. And at that same moment, that speck of individuality is so insignificant that when there are things that set you apart, those aren't things that you use and that you embrace and that you love. You're loved because of your ability to play the game, or you start self-associating your ability to be loved by your ability to be good at sports. And so if anything threatens your ability to play the sport, if anything threatens your ability to be the best, then it's now a barrier. And drugs, alcohol, whatever, give me this shot, anything that I can do, anything I can take, so I don't let these people down, so I don't let myself down, so I don't have to rely on this speck of individuality that I don't really know, that I haven't really spent any time with. Everything is going to bulldoze right over that. So Nikki, thank you for that, because it's absolutely right that individuality in team sports, and I'll say this recently, my son is was a all-state soccer and baseball, and we went to a college recruitment fair, and they cared more about his number of the number of his RBIs more than his GPA. And it just is what it is, and that individuality kind of goes out the door when you're good at sports. So thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. Let me get to. I'm sorry. I apologize. I just felt really passionate about that because it's a really important thing. So when we were doing the Dope Sick panel, there was this thing, Tony, that they discussed, talking about, hey, it's the drug isn't the issue, it's the addict. If you did something about the addict, then you wouldn't have to worry about the drugs. Mm-hmm. And it was basically a slap in the face and saying that addiction, it was downplaying the role of addiction and how it plays into things. But, what sort of accountability do you feel that people have that they should wear on their sleeve, when dealing with situations like this, and how do you accommodate and make sure that these things are rightfully, they're rightfully held, and they're held in a right light.
As far as just
The personal accountability for the discipline, or is there where's that balance of accountability of being introduced to drugs in sports and saying, no, I don't want that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of accountability, and I think that it's business. It's all about business, man. Like, sure, we care more about your boy's RBIs and his GPA, because if he comes to our school and is a rock star, a superstar baseball player, that's going to garner more attention for the university, and that equates to dollars. I think it's all money related. I think if addressing the issue of addiction in collegiate sports, pro sports, high school sports, if there was no economic impact on the institutions that should be holding these doctors and coaches accountable, and players too, I feel like we probably wouldn't be having this live stream right now. I feel like there would be a lot more accountability. And I think these days, the only time that players get tested is to check a box off for some third-party watchdog. I know the UFC is real good about testing people mainly for PEDs, but I've heard stories of guys being warned that they were going to get tested in a few days so that they could stop doing whatever they were doing in order to pass the test. It's like there's so much corruption and so much backhanded, underhanded, under the table stuff going on, because it equates to dollars.
Yeah. And that is really, it's unfortunate, because every time we turn around, whether it's battling with a drug empire, or if we're trying to fight legislation, or if we're talking about a university, or if we're talking about a professional sports league, it all comes down to the amount of money that's able to be generated based on someone's abilities. And I think we kind of call that the price of greatness. And the sad derivative of that is that these individuals end up calling with no insurance, no resources. Later on in life, they've been abandoned by the people that love them, right? The people that bought their jerseys and that hung their head up high, and that every game that they played in, they made sure that they were there for every home and away game. And then now this person is in the middle of their addiction and saying, I need help. I've got a CTE, right? I've got a drug addiction or whatever. And no longer are they your favorite player. No longer are they this guy that, man, he was so good at this and I love to watch him play. But now they're just an addict.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to think, and I hope I'm right, I could be wrong. I like to think that there's some progress being made with accepting the addiction and the player and the relationships that are there. But we can all, I remember growing up and seeing people fall out of glory and also making fun of them after they fell out of glory. Jason, do you think that it's possible for us, within the next 5 years to start mending that perception and ability of that person's still the best ball player that you ever saw. They just have an addiction. Do you think that that's
Yes.
going to be more widely accepted?
100%. The good news is that, the stigma for being an addict and, most mental health issues now, it's just gotten so much better and so much easier to admit that you need help and admit that you have a problem. And, I mean, maybe we're all a little biased here, but I know the three of us love a comeback story. What a beautiful thing that is to see somebody who was kind of discarded and thought that, publicly shamed and that they had no chance, and then they turn everything around and then become a beacon of light for other people. And that's the way it happens, is that, that one person who everybody thought, discounted, and oh man, that guy used to be my favorite athlete, now he's a crackhead. But 5 years later, you could see his story on how he came around, and now how he's helping younger athletes, and how he's doing everything he can to give back. Because there's something that happens with a lot of us in recovery, is that once you come out the other side, your main objective is to help the next guy, to help someone else, to say, like, you're not these bad things that you've done. This does not have to be your legacy.
Right.
You could come back from this and you could help other people. Because I mean, I know, full disclosure, me and Tony are kind of buddies, and I get to see him help a lot of people. Yeah, I get to see him help a lot of people in that very same situation. And people will gravitate towards him because it's not just somebody saying, like, hey, you need to get your shit together. It's somebody saying, like, yeah, you want to see some mugshots, you want to hear some crazy stories, I got those for you. And to know that it's somebody who's been through it and now thriving in their life. So yeah, I definitely think that within 5 years we could help that.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So as we make progress, right? Where do you think that that's going to fall? Where do you think that's going to? Is that going to fall into the professional sports lap, or do you think that it's going to be mostly driven by the fans? Tony.
That's a good question. That's a hard question. I could see it happening from the bottom up because, kids in high school, a lot of times it starts there. So I can see parents banding together and forcing the school district to do something about it, and that spreading. Or I could see, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a tragedy to garner the kind of attention to something that needs to be addressed. I know when Len Bias died on the basketball court, that brought a lot of attention to the excesses and the partying of that generation of professional athletes. The unfortunate thing is that I guess most of the time when those tragedies happen, the powers that be can't wait to sweep it under the rug, because I think it's not a necessary evil, but I think in their eyes it's a necessary evil in order to maximize, their margins. I don't know.
No. So recently, just recently, very recently, a federal judge overturned Purdue Pharma's opioid settlement, ruling that the Sacklers could be actually sued in civil court for their role in the opioid epidemic. And I think that about 7-8 months ago, college college players, can now be compensated for their, by EA Sports or by the university, right? College players can now be paid. And when we think about that, like, what are you going to do if you're the coach? You're going to protect your investment. You're going to protect the investment of that. And I think now that as we start trending into this younger demographic of accountability and viewability, that it's going to be really hard to sort of explain away, somebody falling dead on a court. We give our children to these colleges, or we rely on these coaches and these people to take care of our children while they're there. And I think that the public eye on college sports is going to continue to grow, and maybe perhaps the pipeline that has been supplying a lot of these I just want to say, I guess, broken stories, right? These really sad and unfortunate things that both you and Jason have shared. Maybe that will help sever the pipeline that's putting people there. Now that these kids, it is about, you got to take care of them, because if we do have now more visibility, and like Jason, you said, the public perception of addiction is changing readily. And as the public perception is changing, so too is the accountability of what people are going to do and say, and what they will and won't do and won't say in order to maintain and make themselves a relevant in the sports community, whether you're an NFL or your college team or whatever. I'm going to we got two things, and then we're going to wrap up. One is that, Tony, I'm going to give you the last word. Get
the last word.
You always you definitely get the last word. Which is going to be, where do we go from here, and what do we do? But before we do that, I do want to let you guys know that we are going to announce our winners to the Dolphins game. 2 people get a 2-pack to the Dolphins game this Sunday, the 19th. Tony, actually, I'm gonna give you the last word, and I'm gonna type the names of them to you in the private chat, so then you can announce the winners as well.
All right. I think Jason has a better announcer's voice, but I'll do my best.
Oh, no. You get all of it. You get all of Tony. You've been an amazing guest, and you've helped so many people in recovery. I am ecstatic and very glad that you were able to make this, to carve the time out to be with us this evening.
Yes.
So let me put the names in for you, and then I'm gonna give you the last word. All right, hold on.
So while you're typing it in, I would just like to add one thing. So, and this is just for the skateboard community and what we're doing to give back here in Austin, Texas, at least. So there's the big skate park here in Austin called House Park, which after dark, it's like Caligula meets Lord of the Flies there. There's always, you could look it up. There's always fights there, all kind of drugs there. But there's a rec center right behind it. And me and Jason, my friend Jason Amato, and a couple other people, we put together a 12-step meeting there that meets every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. at the rec center right behind House Park, which is not only for skateboarders, but it is frequented by a lot of young skaters who just got out of treatment or are looking for another way. So, if anybody wants to know anything about that, we could post that on our Facebook page. There's also in Dallas organization called Skate Straight Dallas that does the same thing. And then in New York, there's another one, and I would be happy to share that information later on afterwards on the Facebook post.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jason. And lest we forget, Jason asked me as we were planning and talking about this, because we had this official partnership with the Dolphins, and we're looking at different NFL teams and what are we doing. And I was talking to Jason about sports, and he says to me the most peculiar thing. He says, "Is skateboarding a sport?" Absolutely. Listen, if golf is a sport, skateboarding is absolutely a sport, especially if golf is a sport. I think that identifying and understanding and appreciating that skateboarding is not just a sport, but it's a I want to say it's a universally loved sport. Like, I've never met anybody that hasn't seen somebody do some cool tricks on a skateboard and somebody go, "No, that wasn't cool." Like, you know what I mean? Like it's no matter who you are or where you're from, seeing somebody seeing Tony Hawk for the first time do, what was it, the 900?
Yeah, the 900. Yeah.
Was like one of the moments. I don't care where you're from, what ethnicity, what your background is, that united a nation. Like, everybody was like happy for it. And then he recently, within the past year, decided to do his last one. And
retirement, yeah.
And how old is he? 50?
You're probably like 52, maybe 51, 52. Yeah, he's right there.
And he decided to do his last one. And I remember like pumping my fist, being excited and happy to see it happen, because this was a guy that took something that was very grunge and very I don't want to say like unknown. Well, yeah, it was unknown, and he brought it.
It was underground. It was definitely a little bit more.
Yeah, it was underground, and he made. Not only did he make it mainstream, but Tony Hawk makes skateboarding cool. All right.
Tony, I have bad respect for skateboarders, man. I think I know I could never do it.
but hey, listen. I mean, you can knock somebody out with one punch. So there's that.
Yeah, hopefully if it's necessary. But yeah, no, I mean, the whole X Games thing, when that happened, I was, even though I can't do any of those things. Shout out to my boy Tyler Creechy. He can do those things on a dirt bike all day long. But even though I can't do any of that stuff, maybe because I can't do any of that stuff, I have mad respect for those athletes. So, Jason, you're always asking me about workout advice and stuff like that. I got to tell you, man, I'd give my workout knowledge for your skateboarding skills any day.
You heard it here first, folks. Tony Trevino to do his first 900 live next week.
Yes.
So was Tyler the one that did our I Blink Sober with his dirt bike?
No, we were.
Okay.
Did we do one? No, he did the Amaze Yourself.
Yeah.
Tyler Creechy, man. He is.
He did it with
Tyler
Creechy. His dirt bike was in a shop.
Yes. No. He did. We did the rot rally, and Tyler was the one who did a little nose wheelie and said, "I party sober." And he is awesome. Right. He's a great musician, and hopefully he has something dropping soon.
Oh yeah,
Tyler Creechy here.
Good. Well, all right, so Tony, you get the last word. Tony, what I want you to do is, I want you to talk about, where do we go from here? What are the next steps? How do we start fixing this problem, this systemic issue? You're the man with it all, and also, and then also you've got the names of the two winners of the 2 tickets in chat. Go.
Yeah. So the lucky 2 winners that won the contest to get the Dolphins game tickets and bus ride. First one is a Sharon Bird. Woo. Sharon, if you're watching.
All right, Sharon.
Yeah. The second lucky winner is a gentleman by the name of Adam Gellerstein. I hope I'm saying that right. So yeah,
probably you did better than me. Adam, way to go, man. So Adam and Sharon, you guys will get a an email from Recovery Unplugged with all of the information regarding your tickets, when to pick it up, and where to meet and what to do. So thank you for that, Tony.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here? I think as far as addressing the issue of addiction in sports, it's very similar to what I do as a recovery coach and what my team of coaches do at Comeback Recovery, which is we can't ourselves solve the problem, right? We can't just, the six of us aren't going to go out and eliminate addiction, right? If we could, it would have been done a long time ago. But I think it's important to stop the bleeding. I think it's important to get the services out to these players and help them address their addiction. It's gonna have to be done from the inside. As a recovery coach, I know that a lot of times, it's about harm reduction more than achieving a perfect recovery. Everyone's recovery looks different, and in my opinion, if a person is able to get their lives back together and their lives aren't unmanageable and they are a productive member of society and just an all-around good human being, whatever it takes to get there, I'm all for it. In recovery coaching, we have this saying that there are many different pathways to recovery, and we celebrate them all, because ultimately at the end of the day, all I want is for people to find what I've found through recovery, which is genuine happiness. And it's not just a selfish happiness. Like, I'm able to help others find that as well. And I got to tell you, for the over a decade that I was trying to get sober, I just could not figure out why my higher power wouldn't just take me. 5 overdoses and countless sticky situations where I very easily could not have made it out. I could never figure out why. Looking back now, I know I had to go through that misery to be able to help others hopefully avoid it. So back to the question, I think that it's important to get treatment services and counseling and recovery coaching out to the players and out to the people in sports that are suffering from it. If it can be done in the music industry, which it absolutely has, I know so many sober musicians now. Shout out to my boys in Blue October. I'm super close to those guys, and they are just major inspirations to so many people. And they're not the only ones. There are so many sober musicians out there that have proven that you don't have to be the stereotypical rock star to be successful in music. Just like I think in sports, you don't have to be the stereotypical, juiced out beast or, the guy that has all the cool parties after the games. I think it can be done, but it has to be done from the inside.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Tony, that was very insightful. It was very thoughtful and very true. As always, guys, addiction affects everyone from every walk of life. If you or someone you know or love is dealing with an addiction, seek help. Call us. We can help. Thank you, everyone. See you guys actually in 2 weeks. I believe next Thursday. Wait a minute, are we doing it next Thursday? What's the day? Today's the 23rd. Yes. Oh, we'll see you next Thursday on the 23rd. Same bat time, same bat channel with Talksicology. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.